And it's showing.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. We are excited today. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sharice Scott, and I'm the founder and CEO of Sister Reach, a reproductive justice organization located in Memphis, Tennessee. Sister Reach is a grassroots 501c3 nonprofit organization supporting the reproductive autonomy of women and teens of color, poor and rural women, queer folks, and their families through the framework of reproductive justice. Our mission is to empower our base to lead healthy lives, raise healthy families, and live in healthy and sustainable communities. We work from a four-pronged strategy of education, policy and advocacy, culture shift, and harm reduction. And today we are bringing you our monthly social justice preacher series, where we have the opportunity and honor to hear from none other than Reverend Elise Saulsberry, who serves as our Deputy Director of Sister Reach. But today she is coming in the capacity of pastor of Agape Affirming Ministries. And today, Reverend Elise is going to be talking about resilient women, the leadership and power of women in the Bible. So I hope that you all are ready to have a conversation. It's still Women's History Month and still opportunities to celebrate the power and the honor, the self-determination, the autonomy of amazing women. And why not use the Social Justice Preacher Series platform to lift up the importance and greatness of leadership among women in the Bible. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, Reverend Salisbury. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I don't get to be the host all the time, so it's really
Right.
good to be in this particular position today, and I'm so excited for what you have to share with our viewing audience on today. So, without further ado, we want to let you take it away, and I'll be back to we can have a little discussion after a while, and I'll also be checking the comments, everyone. So if you have any questions or comments for Reverend Elise on her topic today, we're definitely going to lift those up in the conversation after she is done. So go ahead, Reverend Salisbury.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for the opportunity. It's definitely an honor to be able to speak, right? Happy Women's History Month, everybody. It's definitely great to have an opportunity to be able to speak on an occasion such as this with an organization who recognizes, right, not just our womanhood, but the intersections that embody the essence of who I am, who we are. I remember working in spaces where I had to muzzle my words or experiences, regardless of its truth, right? Or regardless of my lived experience, even if it was in the name of justice, right, in the name of fairness or equity. But I am grateful of the now. So thank you, Cherise, for being a great CEO. Thank you for your obedience, right, to the wishes of your mother and also to God for a platform like Sister Reach that is for all people. For the ability to bring our whole selves and our lived experience into and our intersections, right? For me personally, into this work. And so, there's a lot that we can discuss as it relates to the resilience of women regarding our leadership and power and authority that we have been given, for those who believe by God, or the authority that we gain through our lived experiences to be intentional about showing up. And so I want to begin by recognizing the text that mentions a woman. Much is not spoken about or written about her often, but her position and her posture of justice are such that they should inform how we proceed in our pursuits of justice. So if you're a person who's alive and recognizes injustice on any level, in any place, it is our responsibility to take her cue and replicate that which we have read of her, that we have seen, right? And now what we're hearing. And so she is Deborah, a person, a woman whose story that matters and her lived experiences speak volumes of our authority as women, our innate resilience, and our boldness in our leadership. So the demands that many women have made and are still making today do not deviate from those of the first women advocates who I always like to lift up, called the Daughters of Zelophehad. And it is for our inheritance. We stand in the face of those who oppose human rights with boldness and many times putting our lives on the line to do so. Deborah is one of those women who did just that in her day. Deborah, the only woman judge at the time, she was a prophet, a songstress, and a bold warrior. And in Judges 4, she calls for Barak. The children of Israel have come up to her for judgment. And speaking to Barak, she asked, hasn't the Lord of Israel commanded you to go and draw unto Mount Tabor and take 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and Zebulun? Now, in his response to her, he basically says, well, yes, the Lord said that the Lord did tell me to go, but I'm reluctant and I will not go. Matter of fact, if you do not go with us. So Barak knew Deborah's strength, right? He respected her and her position and the accuracy of her prophetic utterance and justice, and he still refused to go unless she went with him, even though the Lord had commissioned him to go. So she says, I'll go, but being clear that this victory isn't about centering you. It isn't about your position that I'm going. It isn't about who you are. But it is the Lord who has said that the Lord would place Sisera in the hand of a woman. Now, the assumption initially would be, why would a man, right? Why would a man, not being the general, right, being the person over the army, not go and wait on the presence of a woman who is a judge, who is expected to only operate in the place of a judge, who is expected to be positional, right, to not be able to move outside of the box. But because of who Deborah was, because of her lived experience that made her, right? Because of her experiences as a judge, as a leader, because she knew her power and the authority that she had been given to move in, right? This wasn't leadership that some would like to call usurping authority. This wasn't that. This was her operating inside of the call that and the assignment, as we like to say, that was on her life. Now, here's the thing. When they went up, remember the prophecy she gave to Barak? Now, when they went up against Sisera and his army, not one of Sisera's army survived, but Sisera escaped. But there had already come through Deborah the reminder to Barak that Sisera would be delivered into the hands of a woman. But the prophecy never said how. It never said who, what woman, and it never said how. So Sisera fled the scene of defeat and came upon the house of a woman named Jael. Jael came out to meet him, treated him as if she knew nothing about him. And when she gave him a place to lay his head, Sisera asked her to watch the doors of the tent. And he told her, if anyone comes to apprehend me, if they ask about me, tell them that I'm not here. He fell asleep. And Jael took a nail from the tent and with a hammer drove the nail into his temples, nailing him to the ground. And there he died. So she was intentional about responding, right, to this person who had come to her house unannounced. Again, when Sisera came up on the tent, she said, come, let me show you. When Barak came up on the tent, she said, come, let me show you where the man is that you seek. And she showed him Sisera laying there in his own blood. So there are a few points I'd like to make about leadership and the resilience of women in the Bible, and also making this equivalent to the women in our communities, right? One, the first point is when we answer the call, it is not an indictment to men. We're working alongside men and individuals and gender nonconforming people. We're working alongside everyone to answer the call, but we will answer the call. It's not about a usurping of authority, but it will also not be a call to where we are willing to reduce ourselves, right, to the expectation of errant theology, to the traditional ways that we have been conditioned to move. Neither to the expectation of society. Women are called to lead movements, for example, reproductive justice, which exists to advocate for marginalized and disenfranchised communities to win. Now watch this, not just an isolated victory, right? It's led by women, but it's not by an isolated, it's not for an isolated victories for women, but to win a war, right? Not an isolated victory, but to win a war on the marginalized and disenfranchised families, right? For families total. Reproductive justice, a moment for autonomy, a movement for autonomy and the rights of women and individuals, for safe communities, for healthcare, where everybody gets to enjoy abundance, right? Not just men, not just the rich, but everyone. This is not a threat to anyone, right? Except those who seek to maintain an imbalance of power that does not solely belong to them. And so again, Deborah moving alongside Barak, Deborah going to war with them. It was not an indictment on anyone. Matter of fact, he wouldn't even go to war, even if the Lord said, unless Deborah had been there with him. So point two, women have put their lives, our lives, on the line since the beginning of time, including Eve, right? Who took the rap for eating of the fruit of the tree. Rahab, the sex worker, laid her life on the line to save two men's lives. Fannie Lou Hamer, beaten several times in jail with a baseball bat in one occasion for voting rights for those in Mississippi and for women everywhere. The women leading the Black Lives Matter movement included. It is not a battle that is godless, though some may not be believers, but neither are they theocratic in their approach to justice, right? But it is a battle led by women who without hesitation put their bodies on the line to advocate for justice against abuse and murder by law enforcement of Black people, the right to vote, LGBT rights, which include rights for transgender women, women and individuals who sit in the seats of responsibility and accountability. This is not the hour to sit on your hands and not vote when the people have empowered you to represent our communities, all communities, equal and fairly, regardless of your religious belief or your ideologies. Your assignment is for all people, trans people included, and your vote or refusal to vote against one issue that benefits one group of people to us speaks volumes to every other issue. And so, yes, point three, no victory, right, can be obtained without the resilience and leadership of women. Let me say that one more time. No victory can be obtained without the resilience and leadership of women. Deborah is one example again. No victory can be obtained without the resilience and leadership of women. It does not matter how big the army is. It does not matter the injustice, whatever the issue is. It does not matter that a man is the army general. It might begin with a Deborah who is a judge, but there's a Jael waiting at the end of the battle for justice who do not mind being the jury, right? Basically, it's what Mama said. What does not come out in a wash of leadership will come out in the rinse. Deborah might begin the fight, but there's a Jael waiting to end the battle. Women and individuals, it is our assignment, and we have too many examples who have come before us in the Bible and otherwise to play afraid, to dumb down our callings. We understand that our assignment is not hating on anyone, but again, it is for our inheritance. Our inheritance is equal pay. Our inheritance is equal rights and human rights. Our inheritance is for wealth and land and equal career opportunities. And this battle that we have been given to show up to, we are intentional about the win, because after all, the victory has already been made sure for us. So again, with Deborah, she answered her call. She answered the assignment. She answered Barak, even when he came before her to say, hey, I know I've been told to go to war, and so we can equally work side by side. We can work side by side and get all of our assignments done, because even as King Lemuel, his mother had taught him, we are all here to advocate for the marginalized and disenfranchised, to fight against misogyny, and to correct, right, the harm that errant theology, or those who just misunderstood it, because that's a possibility that it wasn't intentional harm. But once we are here operating in our assignments, if we recognize that harm has been imposed and superimposed on people, when these things have caused victims, right, it is our responsibility to make things right. It is our responsibility to make things right. It is our responsibility to make things right. And honoring again Women's History Month, and all the women, the Sojourner Truths, right? The Maya Angelou's, even those who live among us, honoring them and their work, honoring yourself, right? And doing the self-care around the rest that we need, because when we're called, as Deborah was, to the front line, it is exhausting. It is a lot of work, but we're intentional again about the victory. We're intentional about working alongside those in this fight for justice. We're intentional about answering the call. And again, here we are in the midst of a time where you are needed, you are necessary. These movements are necessary because they are our assignment. So again, I would just admonish those who are called in this moment, whether you're working on policy, if you're the person who's pushing the button to say yay or nay, for or against, I'll say for policies that are against people, we're showing up. We're showing up because inheritance, our godly inheritance, our natural inheritance, our humanity, right, is on the line. And so those who are called, answer the call. We're here. We're here, and we're definitely going to answer. I'm intentional. Though I move, in a space in the South that is few, far, and in between, leading a ministry, right? But a ministry that advocates for the lives of the marginalized. I'm intentional about showing up. I'm intentional about winning the victory, working alongside other people and organizations in our spaces, right, that do this work. And so I, again, even being at Sister Reach, am blessed to be working in and operating in the capacity that I'm allowed in this moment, and I'm grateful for that. Definitely, am grateful for that. If you will, consider investing in women-led organizations. Consider investing in a Sister Reach, right? Because we're doing this work and we're intentional about doing this work. So again, be blessed, grateful for the opportunity. Thank you again, Sharice, to be able to give this talk about the resilience of women. And even, like I said, if Deborah doesn't get you in the wash, JL is going to get you in the rest.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us that really quick Bible study, kind of powerful word. You don't have to say much. As long as it's what you say, it's the content, and it's the power in that word. You mentioned so much, and I love that you centered on Deborah, understanding her position in that time, her role, right, in leadership, and her ability, for her leadership to not just be centered, but be impactful in moving along liberation, right? And even thinking about, your own role and so many who are in positions of authority, thinking about folks in our Tennessee state legislature, those who have a very awesome task and many times not even able to do their work for all of the kind of other systemic issues that, from misogyny to sexism to,
Yes.
discrimination, so many different things. Could you share with us, like, what has it been for you on your own personal journey in ministry, in leadership? Now you have your own church. Now, it has been your charge to, you're not just showing up as a woman, you're showing up as a woman, you're showing up as being queer identified. You're showing up as a Black woman, as well. You're showing up as someone who's leading ministry in the South. So many different intersections to what it means for you to hold space in leadership and in ministry. Could you talk to us a little bit about what that's been like for you?
The irony there is the fact that I was raised in a holiness church, right? The fact that I knew from the time I was in kindergarten that I was same gender loving, but also having to move, right? Even getting married very young in life, because that's what you're taught to do. You graduate high school, for those that do, you graduate high school, then you move on to marriage and family. And, if you're called to ministry, you do that, but make sure, you have the big white house with the picket fence and the 2 kids and a half, the dog or the cat or more. But for me, coming from that background, first of all, it was a battle in itself. And then, moving towards freedom and really having to undo the theology that was embedded in my own mind, right? So having to undo that, and then to be okay with who I am as a same gender loving person, right? Who loves God at the same time, who's called to ministry at the same time, and not and going through the battle of, in different spaces, being asked to leave one or the other behind, right? Or being asked to not verbally, but being expected to, right? To either love God or love all of who you are. And so, it basically came with a conversation with God. And to make a long story short, here I am. I'm intentional about bringing all of me to the table. I'm intentional about helping other same gender loving folks, to come out of errant theological thinking that really, leads many folks to the point of taking their lives, right? And I've been there before. So Agape exists right now. Agape Affirming Ministries exists here in the South, what we call the Bible Belt, because your church is LGBT folks, in my opinion, are right here in the South. And so here we are, answering this call of God, because it's not something that I signed up for, right? It was something that I pushed against for years, up to the moment where even when we were about to do the first service, right? For Agape, even up to the moment saying, God, are you sure you want me to do this? And knowing that God called me to do it, right? And being as a Barack, sort of, in a way, like, I know you said it, but I'm still hesitant to do it. But so now the experience is one of an eye-opening experience. Now I know the difference between inclusive and affirming. Now I know the difference between come as you are and bring all of you to the table, right? Because those are different things, but you learn them. I have learned them in the space that, especially that I'm in now, that sometimes I'm a person who sometimes believe that when there's a table, right, you pull your seat up at the table. But when you sit at that table and somebody pulls the chair from out under you, sometimes you have to create your own table. And so this has been that experience to me around spirituality and being same gender loving, and being always even subliminally when people oppose, right, who you are, they may not understand it, but there are some things that we're just not meant to understand. So I'm in this space, right, because I'm called to it. I'm in this space because there are other people that I know who cannot come, who will not come. They're Baracks in a certain way. They will not come until the Deborah show up. And so here we are. Here you are with reproductive justice, right? Here I am with agape, being the same gender loving person in the South, right? Where we're supposed to have a certain posture, right? Whether it's spoken or unspoken, we're supposed to have a certain posture and to not usurp, right, authority. But when God has a call on your life, you cannot ignore it, and you definitely can't take a back seat or dumb down because it's the expectation of people. So that, in a nutshell, making a long story short, has been my experience. That's been my experience.
Yeah. I think that you look up so much. You said so much in that, especially around creating the opportunities to do the thing that you know that you are called to do. Yes. And just really thinking about, so many powerful women, especially women in the church. Yes. I think it was a recent poll, even thinking among the Black church that Black women very specifically make up, somewhere around 70%. Of the Black church, and that's just not the folks who sit in the pews, but those are the folks who are in the administrative offices. Those are, some who have been allowed, and I will definitely say that word, allowed to be in the pulpit and to work in ministry, for folks who don't necessarily believe that their calling is to be quote unquote evangelist or prophetess or pastor. Right. And really thinking about, how women have been made to be extremely invisibilized in the church, and thinking about, the ways that because of that, this thinking about, if that person isn't in position, then who brings that word? Right. If Miriam wasn't in position, then what would have been the outcome of that story? If Queen Esther wasn't in her position, then what would it have meant for her people? If Queen Vashti didn't push back, then what would that have meant, right? For even though there were repercussions to it, what would that have meant? Or Hannah or Eve, right? We can go on, we can go back, it's like whoever we would like to talk about, but if folks would not have been in position, what would have happened? And so I think about the danger of what it means when all who have been called, and not just the men who have been called in our church and in the churches, the risk that we take for not fully fulfilling the purpose of God or fulfilling the will of God, for not necessarily being able to answer or respond. And the thing is that we don't just bring our spirituality, we bring our gender and that gendered analysis, right? We also bring we bring a maternal piece to the ways in which we serve in ministry. We bring, that important nurturing piece that may or may not always necessarily be present. Many times it gets relegated to the quote unquote first lady, right? So, I think for Women's History Month, it's just so important to highlight the power, the resilience, the expertise, the prophetic word of women in the Bible, and not just to be in more of the servant roles, but in leadership roles. Absolutely. And not that there's anything with being in those servant roles, because even in that there is leadership, but that in that same breath, there are opportunities that are constantly missed in the church. You know how I talk about it at work, and in the work that we do, even with young people, and the work that we do, trying to make sure that young people have access to sexual health education, and I say it so many times, some of the churches wouldn't even have a youth ministry had it not been for the women, right? Absolutely. Many times the single women, the teen mamas that sit in the pews who bring their children to church, that, within that 70% or so of Black women who very specifically are in the Black Christian church, we don't just bring, ourselves only, we bring our entire families. That includes the men and boys in our lives as well. But could you tell us, I don't see any questions in the chat, and if you would like to leave some questions in the chat, please feel free. We don't want to miss, we definitely don't want to miss anyone's voice or anyone's point of view. If you've got a comment, thanks so much for Headley for listening in, and Swan, I saw Mallory, and some other folks who were looking on. Thank you so much for supporting us today and watching on. Could you tell us, how we can support Agape Affirming Ministries? Because I also think it's important to highlight that, that ministry, it doesn't, it requires resources, it requires volunteers, it requires people bringing talents and gifts, things that you could use from folks helping with graphics to folks helping with website build. There's so many different things. So how can folks, where can we find Agape Affirming Ministries on social media, on the website? You give us some information.
Well, thank you for that. I always forget that part of, which is one of the reasons it took me so long to answer the call. I never wanted to feel like I had to wait or depend on people, but the way that ministry is made up, you absolutely do have to have people, right? you have to be okay with being right in that position. And so we are at www.agapeaffirming.org. Which in the present moment, the website is being redesigned. And so for those that would like to make donations to this ministry, you can do so at agapeaffirming@gmail through PayPal. Also, for those that like the Cash App, right, it's Agape AM, $ Agape AM, AGAPE, the letter AM. Those are the ways that you can give to or donate to this ministry. One of the things I do want to lift up too is I'm intentional, right, about helping our community, the LGBT community, and to garner healthy relationships, right, to overcome errant theology. And so one of the ways that I do that is by connecting folks to care. Those who have had harm, right, done to them, whether it was theologically or not, but just being demeaned because of who they are, being, because of their orientation, connecting them to care with counseling. Also myself, because I'm intentional about helping garner healthy relationships, I do premarital counseling sessions, which are really awesome because, one of the things is many people may be a part of ministries, but those ministries may not be affirming. And so many of them will come and has come and gone through the premarital counseling that I offer. Also over for those who would like to visit, we're also in the Sister Reach building at here in Memphis at 2811 Clark Road. For those who want to, who like to make an appointment to go through that premarital counseling, you may send me an email at agapeaffirming@gmail.com also. And we can talk and get that established, because what people have to realize is that same gender loving relationships are just like any other relationship, right? Have the same issues, have the same joys and the same pains. And so, yes, those are the ways that you're able to give. Those are the things that we're intentional about doing. Also, Agape is an evangelistic ministry. So those who would like to volunteer also visit the site to fill out the contact form at agapeaffirming.org. That way, when we're doing the events this summer and this spring in the parks, ministering to unhomed or homeless population, ministering to different people, right? And having giveaways, right? Doing these things that minister to the whole person, right? If you'd like to volunteer for those events that we'll have, feel free to contact us again at www.agapeaffirming.org. And there's a contact form on there that is still in operation where you're able to do that. And thank you again, Sharice, for this opportunity. Definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate all that Sister Reach has done for me and the growth that it's allowed me in my life, and also for Agape. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. You know, you all know how I am at work about this. You know, I'm very intentional about supporting women, supporting Black women very intentionally. It matters not to me, you know, the orientation or gender identity of the woman, but just
Yes.
showing up for one another. I think that, you know, during this Women's History Month, that's just one thing that I want to encourage people to do.
Yes.
Right. If, you know, speaking to our women and folks who identify as women, we want you to take an opportunity to spend some time supporting another sister. It doesn't always have to be monetarily. It could just be a word of encouragement. It could be shooting someone a quick email and just checking in. A text message works. Hitting folks up on Facebook, you know, standing in solidarity as we have more and more conversations on social media that are challenging sometimes to have, right? And thinking about even what's going on kind of in the news right now or on social media, so much happening, especially thinking about women in ministry, whether they be in support of someone in ministry or just people of faith who happen to be in the limelight because their partners or their spouses are in the limelight. You know, just like, thank you, Headley. I appreciate that. So Headley said her daughter's going to support Pastor Elise. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, daughter.
Yes. And, you know, but just thinking about the ways in which women are harmed so much. And, you know, it's just great to just be able to say something kind. Yes. Right, to a woman. So you know, we still have a few days left in Women's History Month. We don't want to limit your love and kindness just to Women's History Month, but we definitely want you to be intentional. I've had an opportunity to talk to and stand with and invest in Black women through our work here at Sister Reach this month, you know, including, you know, supporting the work that Juice Orange Mound is doing, led by Brittany Thornton and Thornton, you know, Amber Sherman and her amazing activism and advocacy work. A part of and within the Tennessee Young Democrats because of her leadership and the ways that she shows up as an organizer. We're always repping and supporting MLK 50, led by Wendy C. Thomas. There's so many other women that you know, that we, whether you be in ministry or not, it's all ministry to me, because ministry is service, right? And how we're showing up for one another and how we're showing up ourselves in our communities. And so, so thank you so much again for those of you all who have tuned in. We appreciate you taking this time to support Sister Reach and share this video. If it was something that resonated with you, share the video. Encourage another woman today who might be having a rough day or a rough time. Encourage folks who might be grappling with ministry. You know, encourage folks who are just grappling with leadership. And you know, share this video and in hopes that, you know, it'll you know, give them the language particularly, you know, and you know, that could be necessary for such a time as this, for them to step out on faith and step into their leadership and step into their power. Women, we need you. We need you. And so many of us are on the front line already, but we need so many other sisters, right? I'm so excited about our senior sisters in our work who are also supporting the work that we do, whether they be on the staff or volunteers like Miss Berna, who comes to help with the pantry, or Miss Wareen, who helps to make sure that Sister Reach remains COVID-19 clean, you know, and that we're meeting those standards for cleanliness and safety, as far as making sure that our office is on point, or to Joyce Kyles, who with Walking Into a New Life, who partners and is co-located there at the organization as well. Wanda Taylor and her work with women who are you know, navigating substance use disorder. Dr. Bernard at Spirit Health. Dr. Grayson over at Choices Memphis Center for Reproductive Health. Mia Peak, who is over Peak Wellness, a doula-based organization here in Memphis. There's so many women that we want to show up for. Bird Strides over there, Terry and Kamathi, and it's so many of you. Tamika Greer. I'm not gonna get in trouble calling the names, but I do want to call names. because we definitely want to lift those sisters up. Dr. Gina Stewart and Christ Missionary Baptist Church, Reverend Nichols and Freedom's Chapel, you know, sisters who have stepped out on a limb, right, for justice, to support not only Sister Reach, but our leadership very specifically as individuals. So we thank you all, you know, and we want you all to, like I said, share this video, and continue to share the word. We bring this programming very intentionally because we recognize that there has been so much harm caused by folks who may have been moving in what they thought was well-intentioned, but that well-intentioned many times has been harmful to the person that it impacted. And we do this work, this part of our work, fighting for to preserve religious freedom as it relates to our bodies and as it relates to our ability to be self-determining, because we believe that self-determination is sacred. We believe that our ability for free will is a gift, a sacred gift from God. And we also support folks who live at the intersections and have to make these different choices about their reproductive and sexual health very intentionally. I want to show up for our trans sisters right now too. Absolutely. We see you, we love you, we appreciate you, Sister Jasmine Tazaki and Sister Kayla Gore and and Renee and so many, Ileana. There's so many of you who are standing on the front line, even though we want to lift up that we take this opportunity to say that we know that there has been legislation that has recently passed that impacts the trans community, folks of trans experience. And we want to say that at Sister Reach, we stand boldly, we stand unapologetically and in solidarity with you, because we understand that even doing this work as Black women is no joke. And if we add, the intersections of our gender identity to that, that is even more challenging and many times very harmful to our young girls who are trying to navigate, to all of our young babies of trans experience who are in the public schools, who are trying to figure out what, how they move and what is the next step for them to be visible when they've been so invisible. We stand with all of you. So thank you all again for watching. We appreciate you. Thank you. Support Agape Affirming Ministries. Support Sister Reach if that is laid on your heart. And we thank you. You tune in next month. I think it's going to be me. Oh, Lord. It is you. It's me. Okay, so tune in next month. Around this time of the month, we should be releasing the flyer pretty soon. And I'm going to be talking about theological fascism and how that shows up, and what that means to us at Sister Reach, what that means to me as a believer, and how we see that operating and being a barrier for everyone to be able to get the liberation that they deserve. So thank you for joining. Have a wonderful day. Love and light, liberation, peace, and all to all and for all. Have a great day.